Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday Tea Time Live. Again, let me know if you can hear me because I did have some technical issues last week. I am very apologetic to anyone who was trying to join me on YouTube. It just didn't happen, did it? The sound just refused to come on last week, even when I switched the on button. So if you are watching me on YouTube, please do give me a thumbs up. Hi, welcome everyone joining on IGTV. Thank you for being here. Like I say, Thursday Tea Time History Chat Live with me, Philippa. I realise I don't think I actually introduced myself. I don't remember introducing myself very often on these. Hi, my name is Philippa, and this is Thursday Tea Time Live, where the history chat just sort of meanders and takes us through. I do have things to cover, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a moment. But yeah, I don't know if anyone is on YouTube, if they could just stick it. Oh, because that was the other thing last week, is the comments didn't come up. So people were desperately trying to tell me that they couldn't hear me, and I wasn't getting any of the messages. So thanks, YouTube, for that. That was very not very helpful. Cool. We have a message saying the sound is working. So I am good to go. Welcome. Everyone got their cup of tea, I hope. I was streaming live on YouTube and IGTV, on Instagram, and it will go on to IGTV later. So thank you for joining me wherever you are, and thank you for catching up on the podcast or on any of the catch-ups, if that is how you are joining me today. So I'm just faffing on my screen so I get everything so I can actually see what I am doing and see everyone's chats. So yeah, there we go. Let me see. Can I do it? Can I actually work this out? Problem is you can't get it set up before you go live. So I actually got loads to talk to you about this week. I was thinking, what am I going to talk about this week? And then I realized that there were loads. So if you're on Instagram, yeah, I can see loads of you hitting the screen. I think it sends me a heart if you tap the screen. So thank you for that. Anyone on YouTube, thank you. You can pop something in the comments. You can send me a super chat. And if you are joined on a member on my YouTube channel, then you can also send me one of your custom stickers. So hi, welcome. I think I've got someone on both. I know a few of you watch me on both streams. I don't know. You can see a slight difference if you do that. So this week I'm going to talk to you about where I've been on my little travels. I went to a place called Goodrich Castle, which anyone who follows me on Instagram will have seen that I shared a little video from there on the day that I was there, and also some photos. Any of you who are in my Patreon, I shared some more photos, some behind the scenes, if you like, extra photos. So they're on there as well. I will not be going past today without talking about the football. I thought maybe some of you might be interested to know about what I'll be doing in 2022, because that is starting to form now. I've got some new videos coming out. I'll tell you what we've been doing on Clubhouse, and of course I will reveal to you what my new slightly history themed hobby is. But before I get started, I hope you've got a suitable beverage. Something's in the blender if you're somewhere hot, or you've got a cup of tea like myself, or maybe I don't know, maybe something stronger if it's a bit later at night. But yeah, before we get going, I have 3 patron shout outs to give this week, so I feel very excited. First of all, is Catherine. Now, Catherine has been on tours with me in the past. She's coming on tours with me in the future. And she was also a member of my British History Club in its previous incarnation. So very, very happy to see Catherine over on my Patreon. And also to Kirsty and Joanne. They've become members of the nobility on my Patreon. And Kirsty from Norway, which must mean hopefully, David's on his orange juice, must mean hopefully that I speak clearly enough for people to understand me, which is good. Somebody was talking about accents on the TV the other day, and I don't know, would any of you know where my accent is from? I'll leave that hanging and maybe come back to it. And Joanne is from the US. So thank you to all three new patrons. It's lovely to have you along. And like I say, there's some things to go in, and you get access to everything else that's happened before. So you get the back catalogue if you join. So there's plenty to keep you entertained. But okay, I have to talk. Hi, Kirsty. Kirsty can understand me. That's good. She's from Yorkshire. I love the Yorkshire accent. I love all the northern accents, actually. I think they're so... Oh, I see, Kirsty. Sorry. People's usernames confuse me. Of course, I get you now. So Kirsty is... okay. So you're English speaking, living in Norway. That's awesome. So I presume you're multilingual, are you? I'm in awe of anyone who speaks multiple languages. Do you like my Queen Bee mug, everyone? B for Brewell. Huh? So welcome everyone who's joining on IGTV, on Instagram and on YouTube. So this is History Tea Time Live, our history chat. And anyway, so first things first, I've done my little shout outs, but now I've got to go on to the football. Football is, it's a national obsession here. And this is the first time we have got through to the finals of a major competition. Last night, we beat Denmark, and one of my friends, who's Irish, actually, he wrote to me and said, "Oh, that's comeuppance or retribution for Lindisfarne." And I wrote back going, "Yeah, and Danelaw." And then I turned to my husband to try and share the joke, and I was like, "Oh," he was like, "That is such a history geek joke." But anyway, so we beat the Danes. We beat Denmark at Wembley, so it's home stadium. There's 60,000 people allowed in. They made so much noise. It was fabulous. The atmosphere must have been incredible in the stadium. And yeah, we beat Denmark 2-1, and we're heading to the finals, which are on Sunday. Oh, Sunday is going to be a mad, exciting day for me, because I will be at Thornbury Castle in the daytime, dressing up as a Tudor queen, with the Tudor royalty experience, Samantha Rees. And then after that, I'm going to be coming back, and the kickoff is at 8:00. Oh, I'm already nervous. It's only Thursday. The game's on Sunday, and I'm already nervous. But this is the first time we've got to the finals of a major competition in my lifetime, I think actually since 1966, which is when we won the World Cup. So yeah, and I mean, football is a national obsession. Football has got a long history in this country. So that's the reason. I suppose it's tribal in one way, isn't it? The football clubs began either, well, for various reasons, but either as linked to a cricket club. So cricket they played in the summer, and football they played in the winter. So you've got clubs that came about like that. I think Aston Villa is one in the Midlands, who Jack Grealish plays for. I'm getting a bit too geeky now. And then the other main source, of football teams creation was factories, and you'd have rival factories with their own football teams. So this game and these teams and our obsession with it actually go back, quite a long way. So in fact, Neil Oliver was talking about football. He's a historian, and he's actually not into football much. And on one of his podcasts, he talked about the history of football. And there's actually records of games being played where you've got either a ball, or in one case, he might have been talking about the Vikings. Actually, they would choose a enemy's head. So, I mean, that's taking it to the extreme. But the idea was to get through a goal effectively at the other end, and whoever did win. So for some reason, humans have been kicking balls around for a long time. So anyway, it is a national obsession. I am obsessed with it, and I can't wait. And I'm uber nervous for Sunday. But Sunday, like I said, I'll also be at Thornbury Castle dressing up as a Tudor Queen. So hopefully I will be able to get you some photos of that on the day. Hopefully there'll be somebody there who can take a picture for me, and I'll share that with you. So what else has been going on? When did I last see you? Last Friday, Thursday. Yes. So Friday, I went to a place called Goodrich Castle, and Goodrich Castle is on the Welsh-English border. It's one of a string of castles that was erected after the Norman conquest along this border. So Ludlow, which I talk about a lot, that's one. Goodrich is another, and Goodrich is really quite complete. Well, anyone who watched my Instagram, or if you go back, it's still on there. It's really quite complete as ruins go. And actually it was complete until 1646. So despite being a border castle, it survived really quite well for all that time until the English civil wars of the 17th century. And there was a massive siege in 1646 because the castle was holding out for the royal cause, and the parliamentarian forces laid siege to it. After that, it took a lot of damage. And after that, though, it was still in a good enough state for it to be used as a garrison, which then led to an Act of Parliament being passed, which was done for lots of sites, including Tutbury, which I've spoken to you about in the last couple of weeks, and it was slighted. So slighting a castle basically makes it indefensible. So that's where you have the curtain walls being taken down, like at Kenilworth. You'll notice big holes in the curtain wall at Kenilworth. They're taken down on purpose so that the castle can't be defended. So it was doing really well until 1646. And it's still quite complete. There are you can go up in the keep where they've put a platform in to get you to the first level, and then you go up this really, really tight stone staircase. Michael says, "Oh, we have sound today." Yes, thankfully. I can't tell you how gutted I was when I looked back through and I was like, okay, it never came on, did it? Someone's asking me, and in detail asking me about the COVID situation here. Well, we are unlocking. Well, yeah, restrictions are all lifting on the 19th of July. And we've had lots of these test events, which is what the semi-finals was one, I think, last night, where we've let people sort of live normally and see what happens, because we're in the situation where COVID is going to have to be one of those things that we live with. We live with lots, and I think we've got it under control enough now. So I don't know. We've got so many people vaccinated now. It is the majority of the adult population now have been immunised. So yeah, onward and upward with that. Goodrich. If you have a look as well, my photos, I think, did I share? Maybe I should if I haven't. The views from Goodrich. It's on a rocky outcrop. I actually don't know if there's something there before, but I would hazard a guess that there probably was, because this is quite a typical defensive position. It's high. It's next to a river, which creates an extra defense. It's on the River Wye, in a bend on the River Wye. It's on a rocky outcrop. It's high. You can see for miles around, which obviously helps if you're defending it. And yes, so sorry, that's it. So the stone staircase going up to the top of the keep. So how I have size 4 feet. How do people with bigger feet get up and down those staircases? Because I felt like I was going to fall. I mean, it's fine. Obviously, it's fine. It was fun. But anyway, so you can go up in the keep. You can go into the chapel, and the chapel is it's unusual actually because it's at it's to the side of the entrance. So where the drawbridge was, which is now a permanent bridge, to the left you can see the chapel windows, which apparently is quite an unusual position to have your chapel. That's next door's Porsche coming back. Can you hear that? I always mention it in case you can hear it. It sounds like a tractor's outside. Oh, so that was fun, and it was sunny, which is not very much here at the moment. So that was a great day out. And I've got another few trips coming up in the next few weeks. Ludlow, Hampton Court. I'm going to go to the Gold and Glory exhibition, and I'm also going to try and make it to the Beckett exhibition at the British Museum. So that will be good. And I'll share with you, obviously, what's been happening there. And if you're on my Patreon, you'll see some extra stuff from there. We were talking in Clubhouse about another place, which I'm desperate to get back to, but it's a little bit of a way for me. So I'm going to have to plan it in for the autumn now. And that's Winchester. On Clubhouse on a Sunday afternoon at 4:00, we do Travelling Tudor Britain in the Tudor Travel Club. And we're doing our own summer progress. So we're not following any particular progress of any of the Tudor monarchs, except a lot of the places will be places that they went on progress, but we're not concerning ourselves too much with that. We've been to the Vine, we've been to Basing House, and last week we went to Winchester with its castle and its cathedral, which obviously was Winchester Abbey before the dissolution. You also had Bishop's Palace. And there are other places as well in Winchester, which I just love. Winchester has a long history, again, back to Roman times, and some of the Roman walls are still there, quite complete, which you can, if you just take a walk along the river, you're next to the Roman walls, and it's maybe 6 years since I've been, 5 years, maybe, I don't know, longer than I thought. So a return visit is long overdue. Like I say, you can see there was the castle there, and the cathedral still there, which was the Abbey. The cathedral is where Mary I married Prince Philip II of Spain. And I welcome, Rachel, to Made One Live. I'm going to tell you about my new hobby. Rachel said, you've got to tell me what your new hobby is. So I will definitely be coming on to that in a bit. But yeah, so Winchester Cathedral, if you manage to go to Winchester and you go into the cathedral, you are where Mary married Philip II of Spain, which is one of the happy times in Mary's life. So as we know, it didn't work out, but at that point, she was hopeful for the future. So it's a happy place for her. The castle, there's only the Great Hall remaining, but that is where you can see the legendary round table of Arthurian legend, painted in the Tudor colours of green and white, which it was done so on the orders of Henry VIII. And so you can see that as well. And you've got those places to go for your Tudor and your history, obviously, links to royalty, but then they also have a working mill, which is really well, I found it fascinating because then you're starting to look at the history of our actual forebears. The kings and queens and nobles are all very interesting because of their impact on the way the country was running, and because they dressed colourfully and did things that were interesting and violent and Unfortunately, this is the stuff that we are attracted to. But you go somewhere like a mill, and you're right down there. You know, you're with people who, like you and me, who would be the working people at the time, and it still works. Like I say, it's a water powered mill, so the river's running underneath, powering the millstones. The other place to go if you're going there is Westgate, which was a prison at the time. It was the Westgate into the to the city. Michael asks, throwing in there, do you think Henry VIII was a psychopath? I'd have to look at the definition of psychopath, but he certainly... Psychopath to me almost gives him an air of being out of the ordinary. And I'm not sure that he was. I'm not sure that he was for his time. I'm not sure that he was in human history. His time, I mean, he was an extreme personality. But humans always want to control other humans. They want to control what they think, what they do, how they act in private, how they act in public. They've always done that. Henry is just another example of someone who wanted people to follow the same line that he was laying, metaphorically as well. So I don't know. Yes, maybe, but unusually, no, I don't think so. I'm getting old and cynical. But there you go. So also this week, I have a video coming out in 2 days. Patrons, it will be available to you later on today, about the proclamation of Queen Jane. So Lady Jane Grey as Queen of England. She became queen when Edward VI died. He was only 15 years old. He died at Greenwich Palace. And actually, patrons, there's that shorter video, but if you go now, you'll be able to see, if you're the nobility tier and above, you'll be able to see the full interview I did a little while ago with Claire Ridgway, where she takes us through the legalities of Edward VI's succession, device for the succession, and Jane's reaction herself to finding out that she was going to be proclaimed queen, and then the follow on. And also she talks about how come Edward was so sick. So if you go along, obviously not right now because you're watching me, but if you go along and onto your Patreon, onto your app, or log on your desktop, you'll be able to access that video. Anyone who is on the upper class tier, you'll be able to see a short version of that. But it's fascinating talk, and we discussed it in Clubhouse on Monday, Edward VI's death and his succession, and all the events that went with that. Because obviously, famously, Jane Grey is known as the 9 Days Queen. That's from her proclamation to Mary's proclamation, and or in London at least, but not from Edward's death. So in fact, she was queen for a few days longer because Edward's death, not unusually, was kept secret in order to facilitate that smooth succession. And she also, the other thing to note about Jane's demise is that she wasn't executed straight away. She wasn't executed till the following February, and that was after the failed Wyatt Rebellion. So she, she wasn't executed just because, or even because she had been proclaimed queen after Edward. Edward had decided that she should be queen, and he decided for actually some very, very sound reasons, not least the fact that his two half-sisters, Mary and Elizabeth, were legally illegitimate. Henry VIII had put them back into the succession. He hadn't re-legitimized them or legitimized them, or whatever the word would be. And by law at that point, an illegitimate child or heir couldn't inherit above a legitimate heir. The grey line was unbroken and legitimate. So actually, Edward had really good reason before you get onto the religious aspects for choosing Jane as his successor. So it's a really interesting one. So catch that video when that comes out in 2 days' time. Like I say, patrons, go and have a look at the video with Claire. We've got Rachel with us. Rachel is a member on YouTube. You also have, you should have, if you haven't, I will be doing that later on, access to that interview as well, because you're a YouTube member. So that's cool. I've got some other videos coming up. I'm going to, I'll come back to this in a minute, but I'm going to be taking August off. So I'm getting lots of videos ready so that they'll keep coming out on my YouTube channel while I'm away. So there won't be too much of a break, but I won't be doing my lives because I'm going to be, well, I'll tell you more about that in a minute, actually. So I'm going to be covering the legend of St. Swithin. Have you heard this one? This is where if it rains on a particular day, it will rain for a further 40 days and nights. So I've got a quick video on that. A ban on kissing. I've done a short, which is so below 60 seconds, done one on banning of kissing. Which actually, when I recorded it, seemed rather extreme, but we've been banned for quite a long time. Not now, but we were oh, have I frozen on Instagram? That won't help, will it? If I freeze on Instagram and you have access to YouTube, pop over to YouTube and see me on there, because I know Instagram does sometimes freeze, which is annoying. Let me just see. Excuse me, everybody. There we go. I've switched to 4G. Let me see if that helps. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the ban on kissing. So the ban on kissing, yeah, seemed a bit extreme when I first looked at that and thought, well, it'll be a fun short to do. What an odd thing to have happened to try and ban kissing. But of course, I don't know about other countries, but we were banned from hugging. Although, anyway, not now, and hopefully never again. I'm also doing one on, oh, it's working now. Good. So I've switched to 4G. So hopefully that will be better. And also later on in July, I've got a quick video about the first interaction of the English with the Spanish Armada. So this is before the one that, well, anyway, it's the first time they clashed. So we've talked about Winchester, talked about, oh, good. Yay, loads of people are joining now. I'm back on. Stop frozen. I did it freeze on a really stupid face as well. Normally does, doesn't it? Never freeze on a actually, I don't know which way I'd like it to freeze. We've talked about Edward VI and succession crisis, and last night should have been the History After Dark room. History After Dark room did go ahead. Catherine took it, Tudor Tracker. She was on her own and she had internet issues, so that's a bit of a bummer, but never mind. And they talked about history's heroes, which is it's a brilliant topic. So I hope we'll probably revisit that as well and do another one. We've done history's villains as well. That's always fun. So I'm sure we'll do that one again as well. But I did absent myself last night because of the football. And so what have we got coming up tonight? Gail Hume from British Sovereigns and Royals. She's doing a room. Sorry, this is about on Clubhouse. She's doing a room about the royal family and how they're funded. I will be doing my new hobby, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. So I won't be able to go into that. But tomorrow, I would love you to join me tomorrow if you're around. It's 5 o'clock. Like I say, on Clubhouse, and we're talking about British quirks. We were going to do this last Friday, so I did speak about this. I was on a pretty normal pose. Okay, good. That's good to know. Yeah, so what was I saying? Oh, yeah, so last Friday we should have been doing a room about British quirkiness, and then I can't remember where I was. All four of us, something happened, and we managed to. Anyway, it was just a perfect storm, and we didn't do it. So we've postponed it to this Friday. So it would be fabulous if you could join us for that. I mean, we British do have odd quirks. We do say sorry when someone bangs into us. What else do we do? We do have lots of cups of tea. I mean, the old adage of popping the kettle on, if that means putting the kettle on to anyone who doesn't know, when in any crisis is 100% true. That is what happens. If someone comes into your house, if someone visits, we will offer them a cup of tea. Maybe coffee a bit more now, but tea is definitely one of the things. So I don't know if any of you watching, especially if you're not British. I mean, actually, no, anyone who is British as well. What is the quirks? Maybe Kirsty as well. If you're still on, you can tell us that. What have you noticed by being in Norway that you think, God, that was a very British thing to do? I'm sure we've got loads. They're all going to come out. I think tomorrow's room is going to be a good laugh. Sunday, we're not doing a room. That's the Travelling Tudor Britain room for two reasons. The big one is, I don't know if I mentioned it, but England are through to the finals of the Euro 2020 competition, which, yes, is in 2021, but they kept it Euro 2020. That's going to be a trivia quiz in the future, isn't it? When did the Euros 2020 happen? Although the Olympics is the same, isn't it? I think they've kept the 2020 title and logos, and because reprinting is obviously too difficult. So Sundays won't happen. We were going to go to the Mary Rose, so that will now be a week on Sunday, which apparently. So Kirsty says that the Norwegians love watching the Premier League. Well, I'm told it's one of the best in the world. I mean, I'm big into when England play, and I have to watch club football because my son does. And if I want to spend any time with him, that's how I do it. So that was, I don't know what we're doing in History After Dark next week. I suppose we'll go back to what we were going to do. I think we're doing favourite murders. It sounds very macabre. But honestly, it's quite fun. Oslo was jam-packed cheering for England last night. Yes! Thank you. Love Norway. Love it even more now. I mean, the atmosphere, sorry, but it was wonderful. It would have been great anyway, but obviously with everything that's been happening over the last 18 months almost, it was wonderful. Right, so I've told you about my travels. Anyone who's missed the last few that I've done, I've been out and about quite a lot now. I'm really quite pleased. Michael, I haven't committed any of my favourite murders yet. Oh God, that's funny. I managed to get to Kenilworth, but I didn't go to the castle. I went with Sarah Morris, the Tudor travel guide, and we went. Well, she took me over because I wasn't sure how to get there, to the Palace of Plaisance, however it's pronounced. And there was basically a pleasure palace, you can tell from the name, which was situated on the other side, or a far side of the lake, which used to surround, not totally surround, but surround Kenilworth Castle. And that walking, actually, I've got something else to tell you about Kenilworth Castle in a minute. And that lake, so that lake was there. Oh, I'll come on to that in a minute. But anyway, the Palace of Plaisance, we went to see where that was. So you can have a look on my Instagram. I shared photographs of that. Bosworth Battlefield I went to with Catherine, who's the Tudor tracker. I've been to Tower of London with Dr. Cat, Gail was there from British Sovereigns and Royals. Catherine there, the Tudor tracker. It was like, right, once we're allowed out, it was like, we're just going to keep going. But St Paul's a couple of weeks ago, because if you are based in the UK and London, you normally don't travel to London because it's too busy. At the moment, and hopefully this will change very quickly, but at the moment, because of lack of tourists, London is actually very quiet. So it's quite a nice place to go if you are normally put off by how busy it is. It's a good time to go, and probably well, hopefully, because of the reason, the only time this is going to happen. Went to Tutbury Castle the other week. You might have seen my photo of me with my hood up because it rained. Not the whole time, but quite a lot. But such an interesting castle. So much history there, pre-conquest. So you're going back to the Romans and the Bronze Age. Amazing. And like I say, Goodrich Castle last week. So I will be heading to the next few weeks at Harvington Hall. I said Hampton Court Palace before, didn't I? I'm going to go and catch the Golden Glory exhibition, which is about the Field of Cloth of Gold. Now, that had its 500th anniversary last year. That should have had that exhibition last year, but of course, with COVID, it didn't happen. So, Golden Glory, I'll be going to a Beckett exhibition at the British Museum and Ludlow. Quite a few places. Right, what time are we on? Okay. Not doing too badly this week. So before I move on, let me just, oh yes, Kenilworth Castle. That's what I was going to say. So tomorrow is the 9th of July, and 1575, 9th of July, that is when Elizabeth I turned up to Kenilworth Castle as a I'm getting some questions coming in. Yay! As a guest of Robert Dudley, and she stayed there for 19 days. Possibly should have been staying for a little bit longer, actually, for 3 weeks, which obviously is 21 days. But she left on day 19, and it was like an elaborate marriage proposal from Robert Dudley. He'd obviously not given up on this idea of marrying her. You know, we look back on her story and she was never going to marry. She said she was never going to marry. But there was obviously enough hope from Robert Dudley that she might, and that she might marry him, to have really gone for it at this during her 19-day visit. I mean, he had portraits commissioned, and these portraits, there's certain conventions with how pairs of portraits were created if you were a married couple, and he had them done in that way. I think there were some miniatures. There's a fabulous book by Elizabeth Goldring. In fact, she's written a few books, and she talks about them in there. There were pageants, and it was all themed around marriage and and love. So Kirsty asks, am I going up to York to see the Richard III portrait, which will be on loan from the National Portrait Gallery? Because of course the National Portrait Gallery, hi Orlando from Brazil, thank you for joining. The National Portrait Gallery, sorry everyone on YouTube, I will be coming to your questions as well, is closed for now. It's being refurbished. I don't think it's open until next year. I can't remember the date that it's open. So a lot of the portraits that you'd normally be able to go and see there are on loan. There's a few at the Queen's House in Greenwich, and I didn't know, but Richard III has gone up to York, which is very fitting. No, but I have seen that portrait. So I mean, York again is another place. It's a bit far for me to just pop to, but I will be going. I should have been going last year. Of course, I haven't managed to go because of COVID again. So it's high on my list to go. I wonder how long they've got the portrait there for. Michael, will I be going to Dover Castle? Yes, I will. That's also on my list. I'm running out of time now. I'm running out of summer. But yes, I will be, absolutely. And Kay, I'm coming to see you at Harvington. Yes, I am. Yes, Kay, hopefully you'll be volunteering on the day that I'm there. I mean, I'm only down the road anyway. So I can pop to Harvington quite often if Phil, who's the manager, would like to let me. So yeah, Kay, that would be lovely if I see you at Harvington. It's Harvington Hall. It is just it is a Tudor gem. Probably say this about a lot of places, but it really is, and it tells the story. And I know people there are keen to do this, of what it was like to be a Catholic in certainly the Elizabethan era, as restrictions on the Catholic faith and on Catholics tightened and tightened and tightened, and that did get worse throughout Elizabeth's reign, because the perceived threat is got worse and worse. And I just spoke a little bit earlier about that video I'm going to be putting out about the first interaction with the Spanish Armada, and the Spanish Armada happened the year after Mary Queen of Scots was executed. And Mary Queen of Scots' execution finally happened because Elizabeth was convinced, or her counsellors had convinced her, if only fleetingly, but long enough for her to sign the death warrant, that to get rid of Mary would get rid of a figurehead for a Catholic rebellion and a Catholic invasion, and therefore the country would be safe from those threats, from the Catholic threat. Didn't happen, did it? Didn't work, because the year after was the Spanish Armada. Yes, okay, it failed, but we know that. But it just shows it didn't get rid of. No, it didn't get rid of the threat. So, where was I going with that? I don't know. I don't know. But then, yeah. So I'll be having that video. Just mention, patrons. If you go and have a look, this month you've got the medieval cartoon. So there's this cartoon. I say cartoon, sketch drawing, and it's on a 13th century, I think it was, tax roll, and it's quite telling, the attitudes towards Jewish people in the country at the time. It's really telling. Anyway, so if you're one of my patrons, that's the blog for this month. You can go and find that. And like I say, the interview with Claire Ridgway about get my Henrys and my Edwards mixed up, Edward VI, and the succession, let's call it crisis, which happened with Edward's premature death at the age of only 15 at Greenwich. So that's all there for you to have. At the end of the month, I'm doing a quarterly, my big quarterly event, which is going to be the history of Westminster and Whitehall. So I was down in London. I've taken loads of footage. So we're going to have a walk around Westminster and Whitehall and talk about the history of the area. Because do you ever wonder why the seat of power should happen to be at Whitehall? Why is Downing Street where it is? Whitehall is now the term given to the area as well as the street, but you've got all the major ministries on there. So has anyone ever wondered why? It's one of those things, isn't it? We just sort of absorb, take for granted these things, and then it can be the most simple reasons. Usually things are, really, aren't they? I mean, you hone it down, it's a simple reasoning behind things. But anyway, so I'll be going into that. I'll be doing the history of Westminster and Whitehall as a quarterly live event. Sorry, it won't be live, but a big event for all my patrons at the end of the month. Now, let me tell you about my new hobby. And I haven't got any photos because my children refuse to come with me and take any. So I'm going to try and persuade them. I'm going again tonight. And I've taken up archery. See why it's got a historical twist? Actually, look, I shouldn't put it that far, just that far. I'm learning. So now I have the worst eyesight. I really, really do. So it's quite a test for me, but I am enjoying it nonetheless, and will be doing. So you do a course to begin with. You have to get in 8 hours, I think it is 8 or 10 hours, and then you are allowed to go shoot without supervision at clubs. So archery, that's really cool. I think it's really cool. I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm loving having a new skill. Well, not quite skillful yet. Michael, I always find it interesting that the High Anglican Church is Catholic in all but name. So I get a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into religion now because it's contentious, but it always occurs to me, you've got one religion with so many factions. They can't be too far away from each other, can they? Michael, do you ever wonder why the majority of government buildings are at number 10? Well, I happen to know, and I will happen to be covering it for my patrons. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to it. I've done it in person, physically as a tour for some people who came over from America a couple of years ago. And obviously I was hoping to be doing some more in person, but that hasn't happened. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to doing that for patrons. And then I think I mentioned this earlier, but I am going to be taking August off. If you want to join my Patreon, go to patreon.com/British history, and you will find me. Patreon is Patreon. So patreon.com/British history, and you'll find me there. Yes, so I'm going to be taking August off. Patrons, there will still be you will still be getting your stuff, but I won't be doing my Thursday tea time lives, and that's because I'm going to be camping for the whole of August, which I'm really looking forward to. It's a double-edged sword. I wasn't going to be able to do that because I should have been taking 3 tours in September. A On Progress with Anne Boleyn tour, a Anne Boleyn experience tour, and an Elizabeth I experience tour. And I have had to make the very sad decision to cancel those because a lot of people come from abroad onto my tours, and it just wasn't looking likely. It might actually be more likely that people can travel in soon, but at the time that I had to make the decision, I had to just go for it. But that does mean I get to go camping for the whole of August with my daughter, and also I'm really looking forward to 2022 now. We have some dates coming out soon. My website is britishhistorytours.com. And from there, you can actually find the Patreon, but you can go straight to Patreon at patreon.com/British history. So I was just answering that for someone on Instagram. So taking August off. So 2022 though, sorry. So tours, there aren't going to be many available in 2022. So if you're interested, then keep an eye out on my website. But also, if you go to my website, britishhistorytours.com, you can sign up to hear about tours first. I've actually called the list that hear about tours first. Rachel says, are you camping or clamping for a month? Just for pleasure or a historical twist. So camping. See, I'm getting dry now. Is it my accent or is it because I'm getting dry mouth? Mm. Well, I cannot go anywhere without without going and having a mooch around. But this is somewhere that I've been multiple times in the past. So I imagine I will be bringing something, but I won't be. I don't know when. It'll be a bit random. I'll probably just go live, either on Instagram or YouTube. There's an abbey really close by to where I'm staying, which is really quite complete. Oh, glamping! I was thinking, why would I be clamping for a month? Got getting the extra income, just going around clamping people's cars. No, not glamping. Not glamping. I actually, other than having to have a proper solid bed, well, camping bed, that's my only sort of luxury. I'm actually quite good. I would never have gone camping when I was younger, but it's actually quite fun. So yes, what was I forgot what I was saying there, but yeah, no, camping. Yeah, so there's an abbey. It's really quite complete. And so I probably, if the weather holds, I will be going there. There's a castle nearby. The just the ancient woodland that's around where we are is interesting in itself. You know, you'll come across you come across a fort that's nearby. You can see the earthworks. And then if we start going a bit further afield, there's other stuff to see. So yeah, I'm trying to take a full break, but I mean, it's fun, isn't it? I love looking at history. I love looking at I think I mentioned this with when I was talking about the Abandoned London interview that I did with Katie Wignall. How I've loved seeing evidence of how humans have interacted with the landscape and how they've changed the landscape. I mean, isn't it incredible that I can still go and visit? Anyone can go and visit, and this, but I'm talking specifically about near where I'm going to be going, earthworks from an Iron Age fort. Yeah, how long ago was that? And yet the scars of the human interaction there are still there. I mean, that they're, you know, in a lot of the places we've worked to, once they're uncovered, to keep them visible, which is great. So yeah, look out. I probably will just be random in August, but I certainly won't be doing Thursday tea time lives. Thursday tea time, lives. But it's going to be fun. I'll be back with a vengeance in September anyway. So you won't be missing me for too long. And by then I should be able to tell you about the tours for 2022 if you're interested. I mean, just have a look at the itineraries if you want to be nosy as well. Because we do some really cool stuff. But like I said, there's only going to be maximum 60 spaces for next year. There's only ever 20 per tour. Anyway, we keep them quite on purpose. I've always wanted to keep them quite small, and that's because we do a lot of stuff, and I want people to feel like they're getting a real experience, not just shoved onto a coach, off a coach, you know, into a room, out of a room, and back on a coach, and you know, that's not at all how I do it. So I absolutely can't wait, because I actually haven't now had a tour since 2019. So 2022, it can't come quick enough for me. I'm really excited. And when I'm on tour, those of you who can't join me, you'll be able to follow on social media. I do share photos and little videos from wherever we are, so you'll be able to see and live vicariously through us and through me, which is great. So yeah, so if you want to know more about the tours, if you go to oh, Kirsty, yay! If you go to my website, britishhistorytours.com, and I think the pop-up comes up, when there's annoying pop-ups, sorry about that. But if you look for the sign up for Hear About Tours first, or if you're on Instagram, if you just follow the link in my bio, you can do that directly from there. And you get an email from me once a week on a Sunday with all the links to all the videos that I talked to you about on here, and a link to this Thursday Tea Time Live as well. So if you've missed it, you'll just get the link to that. And that's it. So as long as you don't mind me emailing you every Sunday to tell you what I've been up to, that's it. That's the only cost to signing up to get that. I can't remember. I think that was all I wanted to speak to you about today. Or, I mean, anyone got any last questions? You can pop them in the chat now. Thank you so much, though, I will say, for joining me again. I really appreciate you spending this time with me. Oh, Michael says, have I done any ancestry research into mine or my husband's family? Because Brewell is an interesting surname. Indeed it is. Well, I got as far back as I can't remember what year it was, and I got back to Cornwall. This is for my husband's family. Now my husband's family moved to Derbyshire, where there was lots of mining, quarrying, and for tin. Can't remember. Someone tell me. And so it wasn't a surprise, actually, when I followed that route back and found that they'd come from Cornwall. And then I looked into the history of what was happening in Cornwall about that time. And this was when a lot of the mining down in Cornwall was coming to an end, drying up, and people having to move. So, but actually from before that, no, I don't know. There are, with both my maiden name, which is Lacey, and my married name, which is Brewell, both appear to have lead mining. Thanks, Jay. Lead. Tin was in Cornwall. Lead was in Derbyshire. They both seem to have a French route, which it's not surprising, is it? There's a little thing called the Norman Conquest in 1066, so that wouldn't be at all surprising. But I mean, surnames are interesting. I'm getting onto another topic now, but I was with the Goodrich Castle research. I went there, one, because I wanted to go, but it fell wonderfully in line with a virtual tour somebody asked me to do. Cassidy Cash, who is a Shakespeare blogger, she has got a membership site, and Goodrich Castle is mentioned in the Henry V play. So she wanted me to go to Goodrich, and there was a number of questions, and one was about that there was a letter in the play. I can't remember. I'm not a huge Shakespeare person, but well, the plays themselves, I like the history of Shakespeare, but there was a letter that was sent from the I think the 7th Earl to his father, so he wouldn't have been the Earl at that time, but anyway, with a gift of Monmouth cap and Perry and something else that I couldn't find the description of. But anyway, when I was looking into what was a Monmouth cap and explaining what that was, part of what I found was that the surname Cappers became, or was shown to be, in records, a popular surname in the 15th century. So that, without knowing much more about that sort of indicates that people's surnames were fluid. we accept that a lot of surnames came from the profession of the person, and people would follow in the footsteps of their fathers, mothers, whatever, and do the same. So, but the fact that cappers, when were caps started to be made? What were they? What were these people's family name before that? We like to think of it all as nice and sequential, and there's a record somewhere, of course, records of births and christenings, etc. That didn't happen till around about the time Shakespeare was born. In fact, that didn't become a requirement until as late as that. So we like to go back and back and back, but actually it's not simple for a whole host of reasons, not least because people's surnames might change with what they did, and also, did you know that some first names were reused? If a child died, this happened with my dad. Looked into our family tree. Say the firstborn son was named after the father, and then that son died, and then another son was born. They would reuse the name, so that you had John the father, and you would have John the son. So it gets very complicated. So anyway, there you go. There's a random tangent. I do love a random tangent of a Thursday. So thank you everybody so much for joining me. By the time I speak to you next, I will know whether England were victorious on Sunday. Oh gosh, right. I am genuinely nervous already. So yes, by then I will know. We will know the result, and I will have lots more history stuff to talk to you about. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you will join me again next week, and get as much of me as you can before I take my break in August. I forget what month it was then. So see you all soon. Take care. Have a lovely week. I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.